In results 2020, Democratic candidates are set to take the stage in South Carolina in just hours.
It's the last debate before the state's critical primary and Super Tuesday. CBS News will host the debate right here on News 6.
And this morning, we have a preview of what to expect from someone who will be front and center tonight. Joining us now from Charleston is Face the Nation moderator and CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent, Margaret Brennan. Margaret, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know over the weekend you had a chance to talk to former Vice President Joe Biden. He has not been doing well in the previous states, but he has always talked about his chances in South Carolina. Do you think he has the most at stake?
Unquestionably, South Carolina is Joe Biden's firewall. That is the backstop to end the slide. He is betting, in particular, that the largest part of the Democratic electorate in this state, African Americans, will show up. He is betting on it. They make up 60% of the Democratic electorate. You have heard him time and again in this state talk about his record serving as Barack Obama's vice president, making the argument that he is the safest pick versus a Democratic socialist like Bernie Sanders, who is the front runner, and that he will restore the U.S. to what he describes as sort of the height of policy with Barack Obama. The question is that the direction the country and voters here want to go in? Tom Steyer, the billionaire who remains in this race, has been spending quite a lot of money here in this state, about $20 million on ads. He has outspent and outstaffed Joe Biden here and is eating away at some of his support among African American voters. We have seen a 19-point slide from November to today among black voters in terms of coming out and saying they will definitely vote for Joe Biden. He needs to change that momentum, and part of doing that is tonight on this debate stage making that argument to the public. Of course, Bernie Sanders also has to keep the momentum going, since coming into this race, he has been the front runner in the past three.
I do want to talk about Bernie Sanders. He made some controversial comments on 60 Minutes over the weekend about Fidel Castro in Cuba, which he has since doubled down on. Do you think the comments will be changing the tone of tonight's debate? Do you think the candidates will pounce on Sanders because of those comments?
I think you can expect some sharp elbows from all of these candidates, and absolutely will use just about everything at their fingertips. The Sanders campaign says to the American people they don't want to have an argument about regimes in Cuba and Nicaragua 30 years ago, that is just besides the point. But the argument that will be made by people like Mike Bloomberg, who has a lot riding on this race as well going into Super Tuesday, is to hit Bernie Sanders for voicing any kind of sympathy for a socialist or communist regime. Sanders says no, that he will stand up to authoritarians. He has just, in that 60 Minutes interview, said, well, the Castros had a good literacy program, even though they were authoritarians. Mm-hmm. In a state like Florida, that doesn't go over well with the electorate.
And we have seen that. No doubt about that, Margaret. Last question here. When the curtains close tonight, what do you think the big headline will be tomorrow morning?
The big headline will be survival and momentum. Does Joe Biden show he will not just survive, but become the most electable, most viable candidate, regain the front-runner status he went into these primaries with? And can Bernie Sanders again pull off a night where he shows that he can excite progressives to show up at the ballot box on Saturday here in this state and keep that momentum going through Super Tuesday? Michael Bloomberg also has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on ads in states other than South Carolina to focus on Super Tuesday. He has to show that money is going to be backed up with a stronger debate performance than what he gave just last week.
And we'll be watching. Margaret Brennan live from Charleston. Thank you so much. Yeah, so many headlines, guys, when you think about it. So many candidates still in this race. Super Tuesday is a 1 week from today. Mike Bloomberg not on the ballot in South Carolina, and yet on the debate stage. So he's really not, targeting people in South Carolina at this point. Mm-hmm. But it's just fascinating, the different dynamic that we might see tonight. This is arguably the most important debate that the candidates will have leading up to all those delegates now up for grabs Super Tuesday.
Yeah, everything's narrowing down.
It
now,
sure
so.
is.
Well, think
It sure
about all
is.
the changes we've seen since Iowa. I mean, we haven't even heard about Buttigieg.
Right, and he's in second place when
a
it
long
comes to
time.
delegate count right now. You
Right.
know, it goes Sanders, Buttigieg, and so many of these people are getting lost in the shuffle. It's so important. That's why these debates are so critical to get that headline, to have that moment where people say, "Hey, they're still in the race. I want to support them." So
Right.
we'll see
They're
what
gonna be
happens.
out front.
Yeah, and that's why we have a crew in South Carolina right now, Eric Von Anken, with reports throughout the day here on News 6 leading up to the big debate tonight at 8, right here on News 6.